background about myself. I'm a senior business development manager at Alibaba Group. We're based in Hangzhou, which is the old capital of China, about 45 minutes south of Shanghai. And since joining the company, a little over 2 years, my team and I have been responsible for expanding our international business, focusing mostly on our B2C platform, as the colleague mentioned earlier, called Tmall. Tmall is the largest B2C platform in China, and we are now very interested in working with international brands and retailers and traders to enable them to do business on our platforms and sell their products to our Chinese consumers. I will be giving you a little bit of an introduction around China's e-commerce landscape, macroeconomically speaking. Then I'll give you a historical background of our company, Alibaba Group, and then delve into our B2C platforms, Tmall and Tmall Global. And I'm going to assume for most of the people here that are interested in doing business with China, Tmall Global will be the more relevant platform. So I'm sure many of you have heard the statistics before, but I will repeat them one more time. China has now a population of internet users reaching 650 million people. That makes up a little less than half of the entire population. But with this number, China is already the largest internet population in the world. And the number is growing rapidly. As you can see, the user base of internet users is rising at 40%. And 35% on average. The urban areas, which include Shanghai, Beijing, Shenzhen, Guangzhou, has the largest population of users, and the most potential is seen in the rural areas, as you can see, and that is also the area that is growing most rapidly. And among those users who access the internet, about half of those people are shopping online right now, so around 350 million people, and all of those users are using our platforms to make purchases. And that statistic, as you can see here as well, since 2011 until 2014 has grown dramatically and continues to grow at an average of 30% every year. So there's an immense potential in China still, despite the already large size of the internet users. Please move to the next slide, please. Mobile plays an extremely important role in China because the majority of people who are using the internet for the first time now are accessing a smartphone to see the internet for the first time. And as you can see, I don't know if you've heard of companies like Xiaomi. Xiaomi is the largest smartphone startup in China. They're growing dramatically in trying to expand their business into the rural areas where people are using the internet for the first time through their smartphone. Because most people actually are skipping the PC step for obvious reasons, one of them being that the PC is too expensive, one of them being that it is a lot more convenient to use a smartphone to access the internet. So many people are now accessing the internet for the first time through mobile, and you can see that as well in the dramatic rise in commerce GMV from 2011 to 2014, with percentage growth of in the 2,000%, because so many people are now accessing the internet for the first time through their smartphone. Tmall and Taobao, our two B2C platforms, make up around 86% of that share in GMV for mobile commerce. Big picture speaking, including both PC and mobile, Tmall, which is our B2C platform, makes up around 61% of the market. Now, it is important, though, to underscore that we are an open platform, and we are welcoming all other B2C platforms to do business with us. So an example of a partner that my team and I recruited is Amazon. You would traditionally think Amazon might be a competitor, but in fact, Amazon decided to cooperate with us and open a Tmall store within our platform, and I'll explain later why that makes sense for Amazon to do. So we are an open platform, and we don't see Amazon and some of the other big platforms as competitors. Now I'll give you a background around Alibaba Group. I hope you got a sense of the immense potential and growth of the e-commerce market and the internet market in China. Alibaba Group was founded by a man that I'm sure many of you have heard of, named Jack Ma, who is a man of humble beginnings, a teacher in Hangzhou, who was inspired by, you can move to the next slide, who was inspired by the vast potential back in the 90s for connecting Chinese producers, suppliers, with the American and Western brands and retailers who needed Chinese manufacturers to manufacture their goods at scale and cost effectively. And so he created a platform called Alibaba, Alibaba.com, which was our first business to connect Chinese producers with buyers worldwide. And it is very important that this business was founded with a very clear mission. And that mission is to make it easy to do business anywhere. And that is a mission that drives all of our platforms, all of our employees. It is the DNA of our company. And as you'll see in the next slide, and with that mission in mind, we've created all the other businesses and all the other platforms that make up the group today. More importantly, we also have a long-term vision in mind. We're not just a Silicon Valley-esque startup that rises and falls. We see ourselves as a business that can span over 3 centuries. We were founded in 1999. We see ourselves living through this century and up until the next century. So that's why we want to be alive for 102 years. Please move to the next slide, please. Here you can see the history of our company one more clearly, starting with what I mentioned before, our first platform in 1999, founded in my boss's apartment, and then moving on in 2003 with the establishment of Taobao. I'm not sure how many of you have heard of it, but Taobao is the largest C2C platform in China, connecting consumers with other consumers in China to sell to each other, kind of like eBay here in the West. Founded with the specific purpose of accommodating the large, evident consumer needs in China. 1999 was sort of an inflection point in the Chinese government policies and also in macroeconomic development, where China was, and now more extremely so, converting itself from an investment-based to a consumer-based society. And in order to accommodate the growing consumer need, we established Taobao. And then shortly after, in 2008, we created Tmall, which is our B2C platform, which connects businesses and brands with that consumer base. Why was Tmall founded? Tmall was founded because we saw that consumers now started to be looking more for quality products, maybe shipped from abroad, and not necessarily just looking at the price. So there's a clear transition happening here, and it's now continuing more extremely so, of Chinese consumers looking for quality versus just a commodity product. 2014 marked a historic moment in our business as well, which is when we founded Tmall Global in response to a government initiative to allow more cross-border trade among businesses that don't have access to the Chinese market yet. The Chinese government allowed for 8 so-called pilot cities, so-called free trade zones, to permit businesses here in Europe and anywhere else in the world to ship their products without importing them directly to the Chinese market. And in response to those changes in the policy, which was, previously nobody could do such a thing, we established Tmall Global to create a platform around these new policies. Going back to the mission I mentioned earlier, make it easy to do business anywhere. You will see in the middle our 3 core e-commerce businesses, from Tmall to Taobao to Juhuasuan, which is a group buying platform, kind of like Groupon. And around it, you will see we have established a so-called ecosystem of many different platforms, many different services that feed into the e-commerce business to make it easy for our clients to do business very efficiently within China. So for instance, we founded Alipay, which is a payment processing platform. All of the consumers that buy products on our platforms and all of the merchants that sell products on our platforms need to have an Alipay account in order to participate. And that speeds up the whole process dramatically, because previously people would all have different ways of paying. Then we have online marketing, which sort of works like Google AdWords, where different sellers could buy words, essentially SEO, and sell them through our platform. Then we have social networking. We've invested in China's equivalent of Facebook. We've recently bought Youku, which is China's equivalent of YouTube, to be able to integrate all these different ways of branding yourself and marketing yourself into our e-commerce ecosystem. And again, all within the philosophy to make it easy to do business anywhere. Here just some statistics from 2015 around our performance on our e-commerce platforms. You can see that mobile makes up already almost half of all of our GMV. And we have around 350 million buyers, which makes up half of the internet population, and around 8.5 million active sellers, which includes Chinese as well as international sellers. All right, so I hope you got a good sense of the e-commerce market in general, Alibaba Group, and what we believe in. And now I'd like to delve more specifically into, I'm sure, what you're most interested in, our B2C platforms, Tmall and Tmall Global. Again, Tmall was founded to accommodate a growing need, a growing demand among the Chinese consumer population to buy quality products. And more importantly, Tmall is not just a marketplace to sell goods, kind of like Amazon, but it is an educating catalyst to help Chinese consumers discover new brands and not just buy out of convenience. An executive at Nike, who we worked with closely, once told me that one interesting observation he made of Chinese consumers is that Chinese consumers online buy to kill time, not to save time. And that is a distinct difference between how we shop here and how Chinese people shop. And why is that the case? The reason why that is because so many Chinese internet users are based in rural areas in tier 2, tier 3, tier 4 cities, where they have absolutely no access to the kind of offline retail we have access to here. So a brand like Apple, a brand like Nike, would be something that they wouldn't be able to see offline. So Tmall is really the gateway to give people access to these kinds of brands for the first time. And that's really crucial in how e-commerce works, and also how Westerners and Western businesses that do business with us needs to think about entering our platform. That it's not just for sales, but it's most importantly to do branding right. Please move to the next slide. So these are some of the international brands that we've partnered with so far. And as you can see, the categories of product that these brands sell vary vastly, from luxury electronics to alcohol to a B2C platform like Amazon, etc. And all of these stores have decided to open a flagship store within our platform to sell their goods to our users. Let's move on to the next slide. Now, Tmall Global. Let me say, first of all, many merchants get confused around what Tmall Global is in relation to Tmall. Tmall Global is just a different sales channel within our existing B2C platform. So from the back end, you as a seller would differentiate between selling as a Tmall Global store versus as a Tmall store. But on the front end, to the Chinese consumer, it looks the same. So someone who is seeing your product, let's say you represent a milk powder brand and you're selling it through our Crossborder platform, and you open a flagship store, that product, if it shows up on Tmall.com, our platform, the consumer would not be able to have to go to Tmall Global, a separate website, to find that. He would find it within our universe. And it was founded once, most importantly again, because there's a growing demand among Chinese consumers to buy quality products, especially from abroad. Milk powder is a good example of a product that Chinese consumers insist on buying from places like Holland, insist on buying from places like Germany, because there's a lot of scandals around how best practices in factories in China that produce similar products. Even if foreign brands outsource Western factories, factories in China to produce their products, Chinese still prefer to buy the product directly from abroad. So there's a growing demand for these types of products. And then secondly, as I mentioned before, the infrastructure, the government has allowed us to now open a business channel, a cross-border business channel, through new policies. Please move on to the next channel. Here you can see an example of a number of different Tmall Global flagship stores, cross-border flagship stores, that have opened a store on our platform. And you can see that it's sort of similar to Tmall, but then also maybe not 100% overlap, because we are still very specifically targeting certain categories that we know, product categories that we know are in high demand. Our big data tells us that Chinese people like to buy cross-border products in the category food, baby, home appliances, and cosmetics. Because those products are usually very difficult to get in China from abroad. And also, those products are also ones that we consume, and especially that children consume, and mothers want to pay particularly attention to buying the best products to give it to their children. Move on to the next slide, please. Now again, to reiterate what I said before, Tmall is not just a marketplace, but it is a platform to brand and to reach the consumer for the first time with products that they've never seen before. And they would believe us because we are the main publisher of these kinds of products on our platform. And in order to make it clear and efficient to help different merchants brand their products, we have many different ways of marketing our products. One of them is through our country pavilions. I'm not sure if you read in the news, but a couple months ago, the Dutch king actually came to our campus. We hosted him, and we hosted him in honor of a country pavilion that we launched called the Dutch Pavilion, to help some of your bigger retailers to sell their products through our country pavilion, so to say. What is a country pavilion? It is essentially a micro page within our platform that pools together through our algorithm and also through manual selection different products from that region to our consumer base. And then beyond the country pavilion, we have many different marketing campaigns to promote specific category of products, to have certain discount events, to promote certain holidays in China as well as abroad, etc., to really promote these types of products on our platform. Please move to the next slide. Now, let me more clearly differentiate one more time what Tmall Global is and what Tmall Classic is. Traditionally speaking, since we founded Tmall in 2008, international brands could only access our platform if they already had a legal entity in China, if they paid taxes in China, if they have imported their products in China, etc. Essentially, these businesses were mature international brands that already had a long presence, offline presence in China, and then utilized our channel to expand their consumer base. With Tmall Global, everything's changed. We've opened up a whole new channel especially for SMEs, and also to some extent some larger retailers that have never been able to enter the Chinese market for some reason. One good example is Costco, to sell their products directly from their home country at a much lower risk to our user base, with their international business entity, with their home country bank account, trademark, and warehouse in their home country, which can control the risk dramatically while still giving you access to the same exact user base that is purchasing products from Tmall and all of our other ecosystem platforms. Please move to the next slide. I'll quickly differentiate how this looks different from a logistics perspective. Tmall Classic, once again, you have to import your product, you pay customs, you have to go through customs CIQ, which means you have to get your products checked, etc., so that they're approved for the Chinese legislation. Then you have to pay duty and import tax. You store your products in a Chinese warehouse, and then you sell your product with sales tax. With the new model, you can ship your product directly from abroad, and you pay parcel tax per order to the Chinese consumer. The other option, and this is more suitable for high turnover products, where you know for sure these products are going to sell well, such as milk powder, anything that you know is lower risk. You ship pallets of those products into a bonded warehouse. You don't import the product, even though they're still in China. They're in a bonded warehouse. And then, much like through the overseas warehouse shipment, you sell from the bonded warehouse per order and pay parcel tax. The risks are relatively low. You can test the market from your home country with your business here, see how it goes, and if it goes really well, you can maybe decide to expand to the Chinese market and actually set up a business entity there. But for the time being, it is extremely convenient in how you can access the Chinese market by just using essentially the operation that you already have in place. Costco is one great example of a business that never had access to the Chinese market, didn't really know how to enter it efficiently, and then ran into us and decided that Tmall Global would be a great way to test the market and see how certain products would sell. And so they started off with a product that, based on their market research, they knew would sell well, the mixed nuts product, and sold it during our 11/11 campaign, which is the biggest online marketing campaign in the world, and sold within 24 hours 300 tons of that product. And through that success, because they were able to establish their brand through this campaign, they now are adding different categories into their flagship store. So from multivitamins to protein powder to anything you can imagine, and are expanding their SKUs to more accurately reflect what Costco is actually about. But they started off with a product, with a so-called hero product that they knew was going to sell very well. And that is something, that is a piece of advice we give all of our merchants that don't really know how to approach the Chinese market, to find 1 to 5 hero products that they know are going to sell well, and then slowly expand based on that starting point. FC Bayern Munich opened a flagship store on our platform as well to meet their fan base in China. FC Bayern Munich, much like Costco, also didn't have a strong presence in China, commercially speaking, but they had, and they knew based on their market research, 100 million fans, which is more than the entire German population. How could they access that large consumer group? They decided to open a Tmall Global store, and through integrated marketing, and that's why I want to show this case, we're able to very quickly and efficiently brand Bayern Munich online. And that is something that we often do with new merchants to brand them on our platform. We use a very integrated approach, from offline PR to social media, to online banners, to offline press, mobile advertising, video advertising through Youku, and then all of that combined together, if we find a right time point, for instance, we launched Bayern Munich at around the same time that Bayern did a friendly game in Guangzhou. We were able to extremely quickly brand Bayern Munich on our platform. And within a short period of time, this brand became the #1 selling jersey seller on our platform. So again, to reiterate our mission to make it easy to do business everywhere, we try our best to not just be a sort of focusing on one product, the marketplace, but we want to provide our customers with a very integrated approach to how to do e-commerce in China.